Once your Purple Cloud shell is built, you can now begin training on Purple Cloud. Today we're going to talk about the manager's overview and how managers will actually use the system. So as you can see, again, Purple Cloud only works with Google Chrome mostly. If you do have Microsoft Edge, the latest version, you can also use that. But again, you have to make sure you have the latest version of Microsoft Edge. So to continue on, to access Purple Cloud, you would simply type in app.purplecloudtech.com. Now, once you type this out, it will bring you to this screen here where you can go ahead and log in. So if you don't have your login and you need a login, please reach out to us at support@purplecloudtech.com. But if you do have that login, you can go ahead and enter it. So today I'm going to use our dummy database, which is North Beach. Now I'm going to go ahead and log in as a manager. So on the left side, you can see here, this is how it will look once managers log into Purple Cloud. On the right side, just keep this in mind. I'm going to log in as housekeeping or serviceman and other roles as well, just so that you can see how it looks on the actual devices. So again, this is the manager's view on your computer. If you're using your phone and you're logging into Purple Cloud, it may look a little bit different. Now we do have a mobile version that you guys should be aware of. So if you wanted to see how Purple Cloud would actually look on your mobile device, what you can simply do is minimize the screen to make it a little bit smaller. I'll do that here. And then if I click on the refresh button on the browser, it brings up the mobile view. So as you can see, everything is kind of condensed. You no longer have your icons here on the purple toolbar. Everything is now under the menu button. So you can access everything except for reports in the mobile view, just so that you know. So now that we have an understanding of how you can access Purple Cloud using the mobile view, I'll go ahead and maximize the screen again. Get it back to its original size. And once I do that, I can go ahead and click the refresh button again, and that will bring it back to its normal desktop view. So I'll go ahead and click on the refresh button now. And now we have our normal desktop view. So once you do log into Purple Cloud, you will be greeted at the home screen here. It says welcome and it says your name. Today I'm Ann, of course, but typically I'm Chris, but for this example I'll be Ann. Now on the home screen, you will notice the buttons here on the purple toolbar. So these are buttons that all correlate to what you will access throughout the day in Purple Cloud. You have your red emergency button. We'll talk more about this later. And you have your Wi-Fi button over here. So as long as it's green, that indicates that you're connected to the internet. If it's red, that means you're not connected. And you may have to connect to the internet and then refresh your browser. Now underneath that, you do have your filters area. So in the filters area, this allows you to filter out what you currently see under house count in your area overview. And we'll talk more about that in just a moment here. You can save filters as well. And if you do save filters, you do have the option to clear those saved filters. Below the filters, you have your operation buttons here, the black button. So show legend just tells you what the colors stand for under the area overview, if you ever forget. You have your guest list, which gives you the guest names, first and last name if you have any guests staying on property. And we'll talk more about that later. You have preventative maintenance scores, assigned staff. This is where you're going to go to assign rooms to your staff members, such as your housekeepers and your housemen and your engineers, to perform preventative maintenance throughout the quarter. Now for housekeeping and the other staff members, you will have to assign rooms every single day, but I'll show you that in just a moment here. We do have change status. This allows you to change the actual status of the rooms as well. So you can make a room occupied versus vacant, dirty, pick up, clean, whatever you like. And you can also change the departure date if you need to do so. Now underneath your operation buttons, you do have your house count. So today the house count shows we have 138 vacant dirty rooms and 35 occupied dirty rooms. Now these numbers will definitely change throughout the day, and if you do have an integration with the system will automatically generate these details, and it will change for you so that you don't have to change anything on your side. They kind of talk to each other. Now underneath the house count, we do have the area overview as well. So this starts on page 1, and it has the first room number, which is 101. Now if you scroll down to the bottom, you see it ends at 315. So the rest of my rooms are on the other pages as well. So as you can see here, we have 6 different pages. So as long as you go all the way to the last page, you'll see everything that you need in the system. So if I go all the way back to page 1, we're now back to where we need to be. Now let's go ahead and talk about filters in more detail here. So again, right now the area overview shows all of my rooms, and it shows the different colors here. So red equals dirty, gold is pickup, blue is clean, green blocks are inspected. Now there's a difference between the white numbers and letters versus the black numbers and letters. So white numbers and letters equal vacant, and your black numbers and letter equal occupied. And you can see that here where it says occupied versus your vacant rooms here at the top. Now these are filters as well. So if you click on vacant, you can see all of your vacant rooms here. And as you can see, anything that has white letters and numbers equals vacant. If we click on vacant again, it turns that filter off. All right, now if I want to see occupied rooms only, I can click on the word occupied, and now I see black letters and numbers, and that equals that the room is occupied. So if I click on occupied again, it resets that filter. Moving on, if I wanted to see the 138 vacant dirty rooms that I have, I can click on the 138 vacant dirty rooms, and now if I scroll down to the area overview, I can see those 138 vacant dirty rooms here. If I click that 138 again, that turns the filter off. If I wanted to see my 19 occupied clean rooms, I can simply click on that box, and then in the area overview, it will show me those 19 occupied clean rooms here. So this is very informative for you to kind of digest what's going on early in the morning time. As you walk into the hotel, you can see how many dirty rooms you have versus how many clean rooms or inspected rooms you may have as well. Now to use pickup, you definitely have the option to do so, but this is kind of like a in-between status. You can use it for that, or if you wanted to use it for another reason, you certainly can. Once you do get Purple Cloud, this is your software. You can use it however you like. Now moving on, we have our out of service and out of order rooms. So if you see a lighter gray color, that means that the room is out of service or there's something minor that needs to be done to this room. If you see a darker color gray, that means that the room is out of order, and that means that something major needs to be done to that room. So again, you can see that in some of these examples here. Room 103, for instance, is a darker color gray, so it's out of order. But room 111, for instance, is a lighter color gray, so that means that the room is out of service for some particular reason. Now these rooms also do have underlying statuses, so you can see that room 103, for instance, here is occupied clean. That's the underlying status of this room. So once whatever is wrong in this room is fixed, then the underlying status will take over. Now if you ever get lost inside of Purple Cloud, as you can see here that I just did, just click on that home button and it'll bring you back to this screen here. Moving on, going back to our filters, if we go to filters and we want to filter out by building, so if you have multiple buildings, you can do so. You can deselect all and then just filter by the building numbers that you would like to see here. So for instance, I filter by the north building, and if I scroll down to my area overview, I can only see the rooms that correlate to the north building here. If I deselect north and I select south and I look down under the area overview, I now see different rooms here. These are all the rooms that correlate to the south building. So you can use these filters for whatever you like, and if you do decide that this is something that you would use daily, you can always click the save button, and once you do save these filters, this allows you to always see the same view no matter which screen you go to. So that brings up a good point. If you do save your filters and you click on other buttons here, then it will only show information pertaining to whatever you have saved in your filters. So if you do see something that is not looking right, you can always come back to your filters and click on clear saved, and this will revert back to your default view. All right. Moving on, we have floors. So if you only wanted to see particular rooms or certain rooms on particular floors, you can deselect all, select the floor that you would like to see. And if you check your area overview, now I only see the rooms that correlate to floor number 5 here. We have location as well. So if I click on location, you can filter by room number. So if you know the room number that you want to see and you don't want to search for it, you can simply type it here. And once you type it in under the area overview, it will only show that one room. And now you can click inside of the room to see exactly what you need to see in here, any details. We have, let me clear that. We have type as well. You can filter by room type. You can filter by the room status here, clean versus dirty, restrooms, and so on. You have your icons. So if you ever forget what the icons mean on the rooms, such as this one here on 104, it has an exclamation point or hazard sign. You can always go to your icons and that will tell you exactly what that means. So that hazard sign means that there's an open work order attached to this room. And then you can filter by these as well. So if I deselect all and then select all the rooms that have open work orders on them and scroll down to the area overview, I can see all of the rooms that have open work orders on them. I can clear the save. I can look for rooms that have been assigned to staff members to clean or to repair. I can filter rooms by occupancy, whether the room is occupied or vacant, and if they're staying or leaving for the day. And I can also filter by department. So we have multiple departments here, and we'll talk more about this, but EN stands for engineering, FD stands for front desk, HK stands for housekeeping, MB stands for minibar, MN stands for manager, RS stands for room service, SP stands for houseman or house aide, SR stands for senior person or someone that inspects rooms. TD stands for turn down, and then VL stands for valet. So again, there is no way for you to add any more on here. If you do need us to add more, just let us know. That's a feature that we would have to add to the system. So it may take some time, but we'll definitely try to get, we'll try to accommodate your requests. Moving on from here, I can compress my filters area. And I can go down to my area overview. And again, you can see I'm currently looking at the north view right now. But if I keep going, I can also see the other rooms that pertain to the other building that I have listed inside of Purple Cloud. Now, if I click on a room, you can see we have enter room, guest information, change log, D&D, and add photo. So enter room, you only press enter room as a manager if you are attempting to clean a room or if you want to inspect a room and you want to be timed. So only managers will see the enter room, and you'll see later on where housekeepers do not see enter room. Once they click inside of the room, that automatically starts their time. But so that we're not starting the timer for you as a manager, you do have to manually click that. Now this also comes in handy if you click on this emergency button and you want to let people know where you are and to let them know that you have an emergency. You can also click on enter room. That will tell them exactly where you are. You can type out a message to say you need help, and you can click on confirm, and that automatically sends out a message to everyone, including your managers, whoever has their cell phone number attached in the system, to let them know that there is an emergency. So as you can see here, I can see that the manager needs help. The location is room 101. So the only way I'm able to actually see that you're in room 101 is because you clicked on enter room. Now, if we leave the room and you click on the emergency button, you can see here it doesn't show the location. So entering the room when working in that room is very critical to not only start your timer, but for your managers or other people to know exactly where you are inside of the system. Now this enter room, or once you click on the room as another role, where this comes in handy is also under who's where. So as you can see, I'm currently in room 101, and it tells you the time and the date that I was in there as well. All right, going back to the rooms here, we have guest information. So if there is a guest inside of the room, you will see their first and last name listed here. You will see their VIP status, if they have pets, their language, any requests that they may have, arrival and departure date. So all of this information is generated from your PMS software. So as long as there's an integration between Purple Cloud and your PMS software, you will see that information under guest information. Change log shows you exactly what's happening inside of the room. So if someone enters the room at a specific time, if they leave the room, if they change the status of the room, what have you, all of that will be listed under change log. We have D&D. We'll talk more about that, but you do have the ability as managers or as housekeepers to apply the D&D. So let's say a housekeeper goes to a room, they notice that the D&D sign is on. They can always press this button here. And the system brings up the photo uploader. So on the phones or tablets that you guys may be using for your housekeepers or other roles, once you click inside a select image, it will bring up their camera so that they can take a photo of the D&D sign and they can upload that photo here. So as an example, I'm not using my phone, but I can upload pictures if I wanted to. So what I can do is just upload a D&D sign that I currently have on here. And then I can go ahead and click on upload. And so once this is uploaded, you can see first that D&D was turned on. It gives the date and the time that it was turned on. But if I go to gallery, I can also see that photo. And I can see that D&D was turned on. It tells me who turned it on, the date and time that it was turned on as well. So this is helpful for you guys to determine, like, if a customer calls down and say, hey, my room wasn't cleaned today, you can always go back to the gallery to say, hey, your D&D sign was on at this time, so that's why the room wasn't clean. If you need to, you can also generate a picture report under gallery. And if I click on generate here, this allows you to generate a picture report. And if you need to send this to a guest or attach it for reference for whatever reason, you can always do that. Now, gallery also does hold any photos that are uploaded inside of Purple Cloud. So if you have smoking damage and your housekeeper takes a picture of that, you can upload that as a photo. Lost and found is a good one. So if housekeeping or another role finds something inside of the room, they can always upload that inside of Purple Cloud, and that way that image will always be there. So if you need to reference it, on a future date, and you need to come back a few days to see what was actually in the system or added to the system, you can do that under gallery. Now, also with gallery, you can filter. So if I click on the filters, I can go back as far as I like. So if I wanted to go back to last year even, I could do that. And I can see all of the pictures that have been taken since December 1st, 2019. So I can see I have lost and found in here. I can see I have D&D signs in here. I can see that I have work orders in here as well. All right. You can filter by location. So these are all the photos that have been taken since December 1st, 2019 for room 101. All of these photos here. You can filter by status. And you can also filter by types as well. So smoking damage, furniture damage for documentation, and so on. Training. So we do have a place for you to upload training materials. We have like videos in here that can be uploaded. You have images that you can upload in here, PDF documents, and so on. So if I were to click on how to replace caulk in the shower, as you can see, this is actually a YouTube video that we uploaded into Purple Cloud, and it shows you how to replace moldy caulk in a bathtub or shower.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Ken.
So the video plays for whichever role that you have this assigned to. You can also mark this item as required, and if you do remark this as required, then that particular role that's assigned to watch this particular video will have to complete the whole video before it shows a check mark. And that check mark actually shows up under analytics, and we'll talk a little bit more about that a little later. Moving on from here, we have employees. Now this is where you will go to add, edit, or remove employees. So if you need to add a new employee to the system, simply click on add new employee. You fill out their username, which is required. First name is required. Last name is required. Password is required. The status, whether they're full-time, part-time, or inactive, is required. Role, so you can select multiple roles. So if you're adding a new employee and they're going to be working in multiple roles, such as engineering and also as housekeeping, you can add those 2 roles in here. And the system will generate a pop-up to ask them which role are they working in when they first log into Purple Cloud. You can add in their sub-role if they're a trainee, a new hire, and so on. We also have regular, meaning that they're going to be working 8 hours a day. We have senior list. This is more geared towards Marriott, so they use this as someone who can inspect their own rooms. But you also have the option to can mark rooms inspected as well. So if you do add a new employee in here and they can inspect their own rooms, be sure to check this box. Now, when adding a new employee, you do have a list of languages in here, and we have a long list. So be sure to select that. This is required as well. And then you have the auto-assign villages, buildings, auto-assign rooms, and so on. So if there are specific rooms that you would like the system to auto-assign each day, you can add that in here. And you can also give them priority for anyone else that may have those same rooms assigned to them. Required checklist to mark clean. This is not required, nor are these auto-assigned villages, buildings, or rooms. These are not required, so you do not have to fill these in. But once you do add all of the information for the employee, make sure you click on the Save button. Now, if you're going in to delete someone, just simply go to Employees, click on their name, click on Delete, and that deletes them out of the system. If you need to edit an employee's password, just simply go to Employees, click on their name, click in the password field, and type in a new password, and be sure to click on the Save button. Now, you can filter your employees by roles as well. So we have all, which shows all employees. EN is engineering. And as you can see, as you hover over these items, it tells you exactly what they stand for. So if I wanted to see all my managers, I would simply click on MN. And now I can see all of my managers inside of the system. We do have it where you can search by the alphabet of their first name as well. So if I wanted to see everyone that starts with the A in the system, I can click on A. And now I see Ann. If I click on B, I don't have any employees that have whose first name starts with a B. Nor C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Let's see, do we have anybody? Okay, so if I do P, I can see that I have a login in here for PCT North Beach. User change log, this just shows like any changes that have happened to any of the profiles inside of Purple Cloud. So if you make any changes, such as changing someone's last name, you would see that information listed here under user change log, and that would tell you who actually made the change as well. Who's where, we kind of talked about this under the home screen, so we'll talk about this a little bit more as well. But as long as someone is inside of a room, and as a manager, if you click on this enter room, then you'll be able to see who's actually inside of that room under who's where. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. Room assignments, again, you can assign rooms to any of your housekeepers, your engineers for preventative maintenance, your housemen to strip rooms, and so on. So all of that information will be listed here. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. We have reports inside of the system as well. So daily overview is something that you can use at the end of the day, maybe just to see what kind of messages or needs or requests have come through. You can see which ones were closed, which ones not applicable, and which ones were acknowledged. And if you need it to, you can open as a PDF document, and you can print this for yourself, or you can save it if you open it in Acrobat Reader. We have the coming due. You can see what messages are coming due inside of the system. You can search all messages inside of the system. So if I go back to, let's say, November of 2020, I can see all messages that have been created since November of 2020. It tells me who actually created it, who the message went to, the location it was sent to, the date and time it was sent, the message that was sent. It tells me the type, if it was a work order or nothing selected at all. It tells me the status and so on. Messages by sender is kind of the same thing. You can see the messages created by the sender. It tells you their name. So these are all of the messages that have been sent by Anne. These are all of the messages that have been sent by Evan. Messages by type, you can see work orders versus messages versus your request and so on. Messages by recipient, again, these are recipients who received messages. So you can see all the messages that were sent to these particular people. And then checklist results. So we do have checklists inside of Purple Cloud. And I'll show you more about that in just a moment here. But under checklist results, you can see what was done and by whom. And if I click on the view, I can see the score. I can see the total score here at the top. I can see the duration that it took them to complete this checklist, who created this checklist, and then I can also print it from here if I need to. So that's something good that we have inside of the system. Do remember that if you do click on reports, filters may not be expanded, so you do have to expand filters, select a date, and now you can go ahead and start clicking through your reports here. And you can use these other filters as well. So you can search by inspector, who it was assigned to, department, checklist, and so on. So we talked about checklists just a moment ago, but we also have an area for you to create new checklists inside of the system. So to create a new checklist, you simply click on Manage Checklist here. Click on this black Create New Checklist button. And now you can give your checklist a name. So let's say, this is an in-room checklist for housekeeping. Actually, let's do out of room because it looks like we have in room here. So let's do out of room checklist for housekeeping. So we have different formats that you can choose. And, typically for housekeeping, it's going to be the done, not done format. For engineering, it's going to be the damaged, repaired, tested format. And then for any type of inspections, you can use the point value system here. And we'll kind of go through those in a moment just to kind of show you how they look. But for this one, since it's housekeeping, I'm going to use the done, not done format and click on create. Now, once I click on create, I can now search through the list to find that new checklist that I just added. So I'm going to look for the out of room checklist for HK. And as you can see, it's assigned to housekeeping. The location says in room, but I want this to go to out of room, so I'll change that location type for out of room. I can prompt user to add a location. This is important if you want your users to be able to add the location that they actually completed this checklist for. So I would say always check this box when creating an out of room checklist. Checklist items. Now I can start adding my checklist that I want them to check for. So or to do. So dust, light fixtures, and I can click on insert. Next one, vacuum. I always spell this wrong. So vacuum, carpet. Click on insert. So I would just go through this whole list here and just add whatever items I want to be included in this checklist. So it does take a little bit of time up front to get this done, but once it's done, you don't have to tussle with it again. You're pretty much done. You can reorder the items here by simply dragging on these three lines here and just drag it to the top, and you can reorder your items. You can edit items, so if you make a mistake for any reason or need to add anything else, you can certainly do so by clicking on the pencil icon. And then make sure you click on save. You can also delete items if you need to by clicking on this red X, and that deletes the item from the list as well. So that's how you actually create a checklist. You can also delete checklists if you needed to. So if you find a checklist that has something blank in there, or maybe it doesn't belong, simply click on it, click on delete checklist, and that deletes it from the system. Now you can filter by checklists created for roles as well. So these are all the checklists created for engineering department. These are the checklists created for front desk and so on. All right. And if you needed to, you can also go into these checklists and edit them or reorder them as well. Moving on from here, you can select roles for this checklist. So if you wanted the checklist to show up for all roles, we do have that option in here as well, just so that you know. Moving on to complete checklist. Complete checklist shows all of your out of room checklists. So again, all of your checklists have to be created under manage checklist. But if you designate any checklist for out of the room, you'll see those located here. And these are just for the manager's view. Now, again, we did create this checklist for the housekeeper, which is called out of room checklist. The reason you don't see it under complete checklist is because, again, that checklist was only for housekeeping. I'm currently only seeing out of room checklists for managers right now. All right. We have analytics. So again, we have reports, which gives you basic reporting information, but then we have analytics that gives you other reporting, such as contact tracing. We have clean time averages and so on. Gamification reports, and we'll talk more about that. You can see checklists by hour and other items here as well. Notes is a unique feature that is located on everyone's device, so everyone have access to notes. This is as you're walking the property and you see that you want to document something, you can use notes for that. And this information will stay in the system forever, so no one else can see this information, only you. So if you wanted to write anything down for, personal reasons or whatever, I would say don't do that here, but you certainly can if you wanted to. It's not going to hurt anything. Now, something unique that you do have to do to exit out of notes is click on this X. So if I try clicking on another area without clicking on the X, as you can see, I'm still stuck inside of notes. So if I click on the X, now it brings me outside of notes. So please remember, if you click inside of notes to exit out of notes, you do have to click on this X here at the top right corner. Moving on from that, we have settings. So settings, I just want everyone to know that if you alter anything inside of settings, it not only affects you, it affects everyone. So only make changes to settings if you guys are in agreement to make those changes. So for instance, we have our quick pick messages down here, and these are messages that are inside of the system. And we're going to talk more about this, but we have, if I create a new one, we have within messaging area and then room as well. So within messaging area, this pertains to the messages in this envelope here. So if I click on the envelope, I click on message, and I click on the quick pick messages, these are the messages that I kind of added over here on the left side under settings, under custom quick pick messages. So these are considered my within messaging area messages here. Now, if I cancel this and go back to the type again, we have room. So room pertains to, if I go inside of a room and I click on the quick pick messages here, these are the messages that pertain to the room under your quick pick messages. So again, you have under settings, you go down to the bottom, you have when you create a new message within messaging area envelope here, room is inside of the room. Okay. Then you have message type. We have message, need, request, work order. So a message could be anything like arrivals. It could be like, hey, I need to know where you are. These are things that you can preload inside of the system so that you don't have to type these messages out. Needs typically go to your housemen or your house aides. Requests go to your housekeepers, and then work orders go to your engineering department. So just keep that in mind as you're creating these quick pick messages. If you do create any new ones, the system will come preloaded with messages in here. So the ones that you currently see, you may see those in your system as well. Now, when you are creating these messages, you can select the recipient to receive this message. So again, if you're creating a message can go to any role. But again, needs go to your houseman. requests go to your housekeepers, and work orders go to your engineering department. Now, after you do select your recipient, you can go ahead and type out the message. So, for instance, on this one, I would say, let's see, take customer bottled water. And I can click on save. So now, since that was within the messaging area, I can always access those messages under the envelope. So if I click on this envelope here, click under message, and I click on create action item. Again, I think I selected that as a message. So I can go here to my quick pick message, and I can see the new item that I added to the system, which is take customer bottled water. So I can choose that. I can select my recipient to send it to. Again, with organization, this is going to everyone that has access to Purple Cloud. All EN stands for anyone that has access to the engineering department, FD, front desk, and so on. And then if you keep scrolling, now you can see individual names here. You do not have to scroll through this whole list. You can actually start typing out names as long as you know the name of the recipient. So for this one, I'll type out Juana. And then I can go ahead and send that. So if Juana is logged inside of Purple Cloud, she would actually see this message come over to her. All right, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment here. So now I'm going to go back home, and we're going to go back to assigning staff, because that is critical and crucial, a very critical and crucial step that you have to do every single day so that your housekeepers will have their electronic boards ready for them once they arrive. So again, instead of using paper, you can use Purple Cloud to assign rooms, and that will not only save trees, but it will also store this information for you if you ever need to go back for whatever reason to see who was assigned this room on a particular day. You can see that inside of Purple Cloud under Analytics, and that will keep you also from having to struggle with papers daily. Now, when you come in the morning time, the first thing you're going to see is this home page. So you always look at your house count, make sure everything is correct. Once everything is determined to be correct, you can go ahead and assign your staff members. So I'll click on assign staff. Now there are many ways that you can assign rooms to individuals. You can assign rooms by clicking on the individual rooms and then selecting the recipient's name to receive those rooms. Or you can assign by floors. So now with housekeepers, you can't assign by floors or buildings. You actually only have the option to assign individual rooms, or you can use the auto assign HK, which the system will auto generate rooms for you. And by using the auto assign, what that does is it kind of keeps everything fair. So it tries to make sure that all housekeepers receive close to the same number of checkouts versus stayovers, so that no one's complaining that they have too many checkouts or stayovers versus someone else that may be on the team. Now with the auto assign HK, if I click on that, I can select who's going to be working for the day. So I can select the recipient's name. If everyone on the list is going to be working, I can always choose select all. But for this example, I'm just going to choose individual names. And I'll go ahead and click on assign. And as you can see, it says auto assign in progress. Once it's done, it says auto assign complete. Go ahead and click on the refresh button. And it takes a moment to load. Once it's done, you can always see what has been loaded by clicking on room assignments. And now I can see all of the rooms that have been assigned to my housekeepers. And as you can see, the system tried to keep the minutes and rooms kind of all in order. So this person here has a whole bunch of rooms because they have other things that they have to do as well. All right. And that was assigned before we even started this tour of the system. Now, the good thing about this is that you can actually drag and drop rooms amongst your housekeepers here. So let's say, for instance, I didn't want Joanne to have room 601. I wanted Juana to have that room. I can simply go over here to 601, hold my left mouse button down, drag and drop it over to Juana's screen. And the system says assignment broke time restrictions. I do have time restrictions on here so that the system doesn't assign rooms over 8 hours, but if I do try to assign this room, the system is warning me that, hey, you're trying to assign rooms over 8 hours. Do you want to assign it anyway? And if I want to, I'll just go ahead and say assign anyway. And now room 601 goes over to Juana. So if I scroll down, I can now see room 601 right here. In addition to that, I can reassign rooms this way as well by clicking on the arrows. So if I click on the arrow, I can choose the person that I want to receive this room, choose their name and click on confirm. And now that room goes over to the person that I chose from the list. I can delete rooms by clicking on the trash can icon, and that removes the list as well. Let's say, for instance, you want to swap rooms amongst your housekeepers, like all of Evan's rooms with all of Joanne's rooms. I can click on the square box here with the pencil in it, and I can choose swap. And now I can choose the person that I want to swap with. So I'll choose Joanne. I'll click on swap. And now they switched rooms and tasks. So now you can see Evan has all of Joanne's rooms and all of Joanne has all of Evan's room. Now, with this being said, let's say that you assign rooms to Evan and he calls out for the day. You need to reassign his rooms to someone else. I can always click on reassign. I can choose Evan's name, click on next, and I can choose the person that I want to reassign his rooms to. So I'll use the test example here. Click on reassign. So all of Evan's rooms are gone. He still has tasks underneath his name. We'll talk more about that in just a moment here, but now I can see that test has all of Evan's rooms. If I needed to print these rooms out, I can print them out individually. And once I do print these out, you can provide it to your housekeeper, or you can save a copy for yourself. If you would like to save trees, you can always change the destination to save as PDF, and this allows you to save it onto your desktop instead of printing it. If you wanted to print all of the assignments here, you can always click on this print button, and this will print all of your room assignments. And if you, again, wanted to save trees, just simply choose Save as PDF, click on Print, and then you can save it onto your desktop instead of printing the documents. If you make a change and you want to undo it for whatever reason, the system will undo your last change. So as you can see, it undid what I just currently did as far as swapping rooms. And then we have view agenda. So with view agenda, this allows all housekeepers to view their agenda. So if this is checked, all housekeepers can view their agenda. If it's unchecked, that means the housekeepers can't view their agenda. And I'll go ahead and log in as one of the housekeepers so you can see an example of this. So I'll log in as Evan on my side here. So I'm going to log in as Evan, and this is how it's going to look on the housekeeper side once they log in on their device. Let's see, I need to find out what Evan's username is. So I'll go to employees, click on Evan's name. He is HK8. HK8. And then I think I know his password. So now that I'm logged in as Evan, this is the screen that he will see once he logs into Purple Cloud. So if I go to menu, click on agenda, this is where he can see his room assignment. So again, that was menu, agenda, and it shows him how many rooms were assigned to him, and he can also see whether the rooms are vacant versus occupied and so on. So going back to view agenda, if I go to view agenda and I uncheck allow all housekeepers to view their agenda, as you can see, Evan can no longer see his agenda before he starts the day. But if I do check this box in real time, it will show him his agenda. So this is good to use, like if your housekeepers become savvy to logging into Purple Cloud to see what rooms they've been assigned. If you don't want them to see until you're ready for them to see, you can always use this view agenda button here. Now, we do have normal boards, short boards, overwritten boards, and show all boards. These are filters, so if I wanted to see all normal boards, I would simply click on that, and these are all normal boards. Now, normal stands for anything that's around 8 hours. Short boards is anything under 8 hours, and then overwritten boards is anything over 8 hours. All right. Now, if I want to see all boards, again, click on show all boards. When in doubt, you can always click on the refresh button. So if you get lost or something looks funky on the screen or doesn't look right, always click on this refresh button in the browser itself, and this will default you back to the original view. We have the D&D watch list as well. So as D&Ds are being assigned into the system, the D&D watch list will add those D&Ds here, and you can always have the system automatically remove those D&Ds at a specific time. And I'll show you an example of that. So if I go to settings and I go to D&D auto unassign settings, if I enable auto unassign of the D&D rooms, the auto unassign will take place at 2:23 p.m. But I can always change that by clicking in set new time, and I can change it to whatever time I want. So maybe I want it to happen around 1 o'clock where it unassigns all D&D rooms. And I'll make sure I click on save. So now the auto assign will take place at 1 o'clock p.m. All right. So moving on from here, I'm gonna go back to my room assignments, and we can filter by building as well. So if I wanted to see all rooms that were assigned by the north building, I can do that. If I wanted to see all rooms that were assigned for the south building, I can see that as well. If I wanted to refresh my view, just click on the refresh button again, and that will refresh the screen so that I can see its original view. I can also filter by status. I can filter by icons, and I can also filter by department as well. All right. So going on from here, let's talk a little bit more about housekeeping. So with housekeeping, once you assign rooms to the housekeepers, they will actually see their board here. They have a way to see their total assigned hours. So if I click this, it shows them everything in hours. If I unclick this, it shows everything in minutes. So that's just something for them to use. It just depends upon the view that they would like to see. So with Evan here, if I click inside of room 222, this automatically starts his timer. Remember when I told you about managers, if they click inside of a room, they have this enter room button to start their timer? Well, with housekeepers, they don't have the enter room button. As soon as they click on the room, it starts their timer for them. So that's one less click that they have to do to start their timer. So we always tell them, the housekeepers, whenever you're going to start cleaning the room, as soon as you unlock the door to start cleaning that room, you click on the room, and that will start your timer. All right. Now, as you can see here, if I go to who's where, I can see exactly where Evan is. I can see that Evan is in room 222 as a manager. Now, as soon as Evan leaves that room, in real time, it shows that he's no longer in room 222. But if I look under previous location, I can see that he was last in room 222 at 12:45 p.m. So that's something good for you to kind of locate where your housekeepers are. Not just to be the big brother or so, but also to kind of see like where they are in case there is an emergency. So moving on from there, with Evan, let's say he goes back to room 222 and he's ready to finish cleaning that room. So as soon as he finishes cleaning that room, he can change the status of it from dirty to clean, and that changes the room to blue. All right. So you can also see the changes happening in real time. So I can do a few things here. I can use my filters, and I can filter by the status. I can deselect all. I can choose clean. I can see all of my clean rooms. So 222 should be in here, and it's right here. And I can see that Evan is currently in that room because HK8 is currently highlighted, and Evan is HK8 right here. All right. So again, you can see everything happening in real time. This way you will know which rooms can now be inspected. Now with Evan, if he clicks on guest information, as long as the guest name, first and last name, is in the PMS system, it will sync with Purple Cloud and it will show that information here. So he can use that to greet the guest. He can see their arrival and departure dates in here as well, and he can see if they have any pets in their language and so on. Change log, he sees the same thing. He sees the time that he changed the room from dirty to clean. He can see the time that he entered the room, the time he left the room, who actually assigned the room to him, and so on. add photo, this is where he can add any images. So let's say he's in room 222 and he notices smoking was done inside of that room. He can select image, and again, if they're using a tablet or a phone, it's going to bring up their camera. He can snap the photo, but for this example, I'm using my desktop, so I do have to select a photo that's already saved on my desktop. So I'll choose, let's see if I have one for smoking right here. And he can label it under photo type, smoking damage, photo description, proof, customer was smoking in their room, charge their account. So once he does that, you can see this information under gallery, and he can also see images as well. So if he goes to menu, clicks on gallery, he can see the photo that he just uploaded, but you can also see it on your side. If you go to gallery, there's the photo as well, and it tells you to charge their account. So this is kind of helpful for you guys to keep track of what's going on with each other. All right, so with Evan, to get back to his room, simply goes back to agenda. He can click back on room 222. For you, just click on home or wherever you would like to go from there. So once Evan is done cleaning the room, if there's a checklist that he needs to complete, he can always click on complete checklist. So again, this checklist right here is only going to show him the checklist that pertain to inside of the room. So again, I know it's kind of confusing, but if you click inside of room 222 and you click on complete checklist, these are your in-room checklists here. All right, so he can click on new in-room checklist, click on the items that he completed. He can see the score here. If he has a photo that he would like to upload, he can do that under select image, and then he clicks on either save for later to come back to it, or click on complete inspection once he is done. All right, now again, we talked about in-room checklist versus out-of-room checklist. So if he needs to access his out-of-room checklist, just as you have over here, you have complete checklist, he would simply go to menu, click on complete checklist, and now he can see his out-of-room checklist here. And so we have this out-of-room checklist that we created for housekeeping earlier. So if I click on that, I can see that checklist here. He can click on the items to complete it. And again, here's the format, done versus not done. He can add comments if he likes. He can actually type in the location that this was done. Let's see, first floor hallway. Click enter. He can select the image and then either save for later or click on complete inspection for it to be done. All right, and again, all of your checklists will be housed under your reports and under checklist results here. All right, so you can always see the results and see what was done for that particular day. Now if we go back to agenda as Evan, so he now has completed room 222. He can now move on to 223. So again, once he gets to that room, he unlocks the door to room 223 to start cleaning that room. Simply clicks on the room, locks his phone, puts it in his pocket or on the countertop inside of the room. He leaves it there, and then he can start cleaning the room. And again, the system automatically times him as soon as he clicks on the room. Now, if this is an occupied room, and what I'm going to do, just to show you guys an example, I'm going to go ahead and change the status of a few of Evan's rooms. So I'm going to change room 223 and 224. So again, to change the status of those rooms, I'm going to go back to home, click on my black button that says change status, and I can look for these rooms. So I'll do 223. I'm going to change this to an occupied room. So I click on it first, click on occupied. I can go down to departure date and I can change the departure date to a different day. And then I'm also going to do room 224. Click on it. Occupied. Departure date is going to be for next month. All right. So now you'll notice something here. You'll notice the S40. S stands for stay over. So stay over for 40 additional nights. So stay over 40 additional nights. Evan can see it on his screen as well. So any changes that are happening or that you're making on your side, the housekeepers or other departments will automatically see those changes in real time as well. Okay. Now I'm going to do something a little bit different for room 301. So 301, Click on it. I'm going to say it's occupied as well. Oh, click on it. Occupied. And today's date is 12/22, so I'll go ahead and choose the 22nd. So as you can see, when I choose that they're leaving for the current date, it shows an L here. The L stands for leaving or checking out for the day. All right. And it looks like it did it for the other rooms. I forgot to uncheck those. So let me deselect that one so it doesn't change back. But let me go back to 223. Change this back to occupied. We'll give it a S9. Okay, perfect. So 223, Evan can see that this room is occupied. He can see it's dirty, and he sees that there's a stayover for 9 additional nights here. I click on that, starts his timer, and let's say that he notices that the guest has a D&D sign on. So he can click on D&D, select image, and again, if he has a tablet or a phone, it's going to bring up his camera. He can go ahead and take a photo of that D&D sign. So I'll select it. D&D type and photo description is already filled in. He doesn't have to worry about that. He can simply click on upload. And again, it shows the date and the time that the D&D was turned on for this one particular room. Now for you as a manager, you can see the date and time that it was turned on as well. So if you click on 223, for instance, shows that Evan is currently in this room, but D&D is applied to this room. So if you click on it, again, it shows the date and time that D&D was turned on. All right. So he can now leave that room. All right. Let's say in room, if there's a rush room and you have a guest coming in for, let's say, room 302, for instance. As a manager, you can go to room 302, click inside of it, click on your quick pick messages, scroll down to the bottom, choose rush room, clean next. Now what that does is it alerts Evan that he has a rush room coming up, and it tells him the room is 302. He has the option here to tell you that he's on the way, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. These are minutes that he's going to need to get to that room. So let's say 20 minutes, for instance, because he's currently working on room 224. So this automatically sends a message to you as the manager to say, hey, Evan got the rush room, and there's a reply because it has this purple arrow here. So if you click on this message, it tells you that he's going to need 20 minutes to get to room 302. All right, so that's unique and something beneficial for you to know exactly what's going on with Evan and how long it's going to take him to get to that rush room. All right, so going back to 224, for instance, if he clicks on that room and he wants to start cleaning the room, again, he clicks on that room as soon as he unlocks the door, locks the phone, puts it in his pocket or on the countertop. Go ahead and clean that room, and then he can change the status from dirty to clean. And then once he clicks on leave room, that stops his timer. And as you can see here, the room turns to blue. You'll be able to see that on your side as well. So again, I have filters applied, so that's why I'm seeing crazy things on my screen here. So I can either click on clear saved, that resets it, or I can refresh the browser. All right, so looking at room 224, as an example, I can see it's now clean. It took him 21 seconds to clean the room. Of course, it would be longer, such as this room actually be longer than that, but these are just examples, okay? Now with room 301, let's say he goes to 301 and the guest has checked out, and he notices that the guest has checked out. He can mark this by checking this box here to say guest has checked out. He can send a pending checkout message to whoever is at the front desk, or he can send it to a manager. So I'll just choose anyone, and you guys can choose anyone as well. You don't have to really know who's on staff at the front desk. You can choose anyone, click on send. That creates a message inside a purple cloud for the front desk. So front desk always needs to monitor under the envelope. So they click on the envelope. Pending vacancies here, they can see these are the rooms that they need to check the guest out of in the PMS system. So once they check them out in the PMS system, they can always click on cancel mode here, and that brings up this box so that they can check it, and then they can cancel the message, and that indicates to them that they've completed that task. All right. Click on all staff to see all of your messages again, or to see the default view. So once the guest is checked out, again, he can start cleaning the room. If there are any checklists that needs to be done, he can go ahead and complete those checklists. And once he's done, click on complete. And again, it gives the inspection score here, and you can see it under your reports. If you go to checklist results, you'll see the checklist that was just completed here. All right, leave room. And let's say, for instance, with 301, if there was a guest in there and they refuse service, they come to the door and say, hey, we don't want service today. He can always check this box that says refuse service. Click on leave room, and it creates a message inside of the system to tell you guys or warn you that, hey, the guest refused service. So you can always use this in your defense. If the guest say, hey, my room wasn't clean, you can always go back to your messages. You can always go back to your gallery just to check the system for guest refused service. Now, going into the messages here, if you wanted to search for guest refused service, you can always type that into the search field, guest, and it'll bring up all the messages that have the word guest in it. All right, so that's just a way to search. In addition to that, if I go back home and I click on my filters here, I can see all of my vacant clean rooms here. So I'll click on that, and now I can see all of the rooms that need to be inspected. So if you have an inspector, they can always use this filter to see what rooms they can go in to inspect. If you are the inspector as a manager, you can always use this filter as well. Go inside of the room, inspect the room. You can also complete your checklist as well. So if you have a quality inspection checklist, for instance, that you would like to complete for this room, you can always click on that, and you can deduct points for things that you see wrong inside of the room. So bed wasn't crisp, had wrinkles in it, shower head wasn't clean. I can deduct points for all of this and then click on complete inspection. Now, once the complete inspection is done, you can see it shows the checklist results here. And then you can always change the status from clean to inspected. And that way, this will alert your front desk to say, hey, there are rooms that are inspected. You can go ahead and start checking guests into these rooms. So I'll go ahead and click on clear save. And now I want to see my vacant inspected rooms as the front desk person. And now I can see all of these vacant inspected rooms here. All right. Now again, if a housekeeper is inside of a room and they feel uncomfortable or they need help or whatever the case may be, again, emergency button is meant for emergencies only, not to say like, hey, we need extra towels or extra soap. Emergency is for a real emergency. Make sure that they click inside of the room and click on the emergency button. They can type out a message if they want. Say, I feel uncomfortable. And click on send. I don't know if you heard that, but it sends you a notification that you have a new message. If you have your phone number listed under, let's see, I went to employees manager and I put the phone number in there. I will get a text message as well to say, hey, I have an emergency message. So you'll get the message here inside of Purple Cloud. It tells you who sent it, Evan S. He's in room 302. So I'll get this, and then as long as I have my number inside of Purple Cloud under my profile, I will also receive a text message as well. All right. The room filters disabled. So if you have filters applied here, like building, you want it to only see information that pertains to the north building, you click on save. If you enable this room filters disabled button, this will only show you messages that pertain to that north building or that filter that you have applied. The 56 open items here, these are items that have not been completed, and as you can see, these are older dates here. So this is something that you definitely want to look out for, just to make sure like your engineers or your housemen and your housekeepers that they complete these items that are listed here, because this number will continue to grow if these items are not done. Now moving on to messages. As a housekeeper, if I'm inside of the room and I notice something is wrong, I can choose one of the messages here. Let's say I'm in room 302. They're smoking inside the room, and I want you guys to charge them. I can send that as a quick pick message. And if I click on all staff, I can see the message that was just sent. So now I can put a note to the front desk that, hey, charge room 302 for smoking damage. If I'm in room 302 and I notice something else is wrong, maybe the toilet is running, I can choose that. That's a work order. So that creates a work order inside of the system. And whoever is assigned to this room as an engineer will receive that work order. So as you can see, it automatically goes to Smith J because he was already assigned to these rooms. So Smith Jones has room 302 and it was assigned to him. So if I go back here, Smith J now has this room. So if I were to log out as Evan and log in as Smith Jones, I should be able to see this message here. So I'm going to log in as Smith Jones, and let me check his username. So it's Smith. All right, and if I click on my envelope, I can see all of the messages that I have here. So I can see that the toilet is running for room 302. So as an engineer, what I would simply do is click on the room and I can say not yet, meaning that I'm not ready to start this work order. And anytime I click on any of these buttons, it notates it down here at the bottom. So as a manager, you can see that as well. If you click on that same message, you can see that Smith Jones clicked on not yet. It tells the date and the time that he clicked on it. Once he's ready to start it, he would simply click on it to alert you guys that he's actually going to complete this item. Once he's done with it, he'll simply click on done, and that will alert you that this item has been completed. Now, if we go back here by clicking on this green arrow, go back, you can see that this work order is now grayed out. So if you see any grayed out messages, that indicates that the work order or request or need has been completed. Now you'll notice with messages, you don't see that on it, done, cancel, or whatever. You don't see that here. So messages only shows you that you have a message. You can reply back to messages as well if you need to down here at the bottom. And we'll talk more about that in just a moment here. All right, so going back home here, I'm going to log out as Smith Jones. I'm going to log back in as Evan. All right, so Evan is still working. And if I go to menu, agenda, and now he's moving on to room 302. And again, it has this symbol here, this clock, which is a restroom. All right, so now Evan can start on this room. So he simply clicks on it. As soon as he's ready to start cleaning it, locks the phone, puts it in his pocket, sets it on the countertop, what have you. And as he's starting to clean the room, he can start seeing things that need to be done. Maybe they need extra towels in this room. He can send that as a message to himself because, again, requests go to housekeeping. Let's see, maybe the room needs to be stripped, so he can send a need. And again, needs go to your housemen or your house aides. And so again, you have your color codes here on the left side. As a manager, you can see this as well. They can see it as housekeeper and other roles too. So if he clicks on his envelope, he can see the request that was sent, and he can also see that work order that was sent. So again, needs go to your housemen, requests go to housekeepers, and then work orders go to your engineers. Now the reason he can see this request here is because requests go to which department? That's right, housekeeping. So he can complete this request himself, say on it, then he can say done once he's completed it. As you can see, it grays out on your side and his side as well. Now it is crucial that your needs, requests, and work orders are completed daily. You know, if it's a work order that's going to take a long time, then of course, you know, that can wait till later. But to access those work orders maybe at a later date, always click on your open items, and your engineers can do the same as well. All right. Now, let's say as Evan, I want to create a message. Maybe there is not a preloaded message inside of the system. I just want to type out one. I can always click on the envelope icon here at the top, click on message, I can select whether it's a need, request, a work order, or if I just want to type out a message, I can select my recipient. So for this instance, I'll choose Ann. Maybe my message is not listed here, so I just want to type it out. So I'll just go to message, click in that area, and then type out my message here. So, hello, how are you today? Will have to leave at 3 p.m. today. Is this okay? So he can send a message to whomever he likes. He can send it to you. Since he just sent it to you, you get it on your side here, and only you can see this since it was attached only to you, not to everyone. You can reply back to this message by saying, you can read it and then say, okay, that is fine. And send it. Now again, he receives that message. He can see there's a reply because he sees this purple arrow here. So if he clicks on the message, he can say that, see that you now said, okay, that is fine. So that's just a way for you guys to communicate with one another. Now, with your housekeepers or your other servicemen that may speak other languages, this is helpful too because the system translates those messages for you. So let's find an example here. Let me go back to all. Let's find someone that speaks another language here. Juana. So we're going to use Juana for an example. She speaks Spanish, so I'll go ahead and log in as Juana. I believe I can log in as her. Let me check. All right. So everything is in Spanish for Juana once she logs in. Again, she goes to menu, agenda to see her agenda here. And again, everything is in Spanish, so she can see rooms are vacant. She can see that they're dirty. She can see her estimated minutes or hours to clean the room. And once she clicks on the room, again, everything is in Spanish here. So if Juana sends any messages that she sees in the system that's in Spanish, it will come over to you in English. So if I go back here, I can see that Juana sent me a message. I can see the guest request turn down service. All right. Juana can also speak to you. If she types out a message to say, and I'm going to choose Ann again, and she can say, hola. And she sends that to you, comes over to you, and it says hello. All right. And you can send a message to her by replying back to say, hello. How are you doing today? And I can send that back to her, and I can see Juana can see that she has a reply. So she clicks on that, and it translates what I just said into Spanish. Hola, ¿cómo está hoy? So this is a good way for you guys to communicate with others that may speak other languages. Purple Cloud is very beneficial for a few things. You can see when people are cleaning their rooms. You can see where they are while they're cleaning their rooms. You can use the system for emergency purposes so that you know exactly where people are if they do have an emergency. You can communicate with one another no matter what language you speak. You can upload training material in here as well. So again, we kind of talked about that. With housekeepers or any other roles, if they need to access that training material, they would simply click on menu, and then they would click on their training materials. So Formación for Spanish, and they can see that training material here. So they can see the ones that are videos and the ones that are requested or required, I should say. Once they click on that, it shows the exact video, and it will play the volume and everything for them. If there are any photos in here, you can see that listed here. So again, this system can be very beneficial for you and your staff members. If you have any questions or would like another more in-depth tour of Purple Cloud, please reach out to me at support@purplecloudtech.com. We can schedule a date and time to go over this with you or your team members. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for your time.